Okay, good evening. My name is Kathy Warren. I'm the planning director for the city of Virginia Beach. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. It's a good turnout, although we're hoping to have some more people come in over the next few minutes, but we'd like to go ahead and get started since it is 6 o'clock. I would like to acknowledge first, we have Councilmember Henley here. Thank you for coming tonight. I see a planning commissioner just came in, Walter Camp. Thank you for coming. We have a lot of staff here tonight, which is good because we're going to break out into stations after. It's all the same information at all of the stations, but we're looking to do that so that we can disperse people and really have a conversation and get feedback about what you like and what you don't like about what you saw tonight. So the formatting tonight will go that we'll make the presentation. Clay Dills will be making the presentation, and then we will break out into those sessions. We've got staff from the planning department. We have staff from economic development, parks and recreation, public works, and I don't think I'm missing anyone, but lots of staff here tonight. So I do want to make a reminder that restrooms, when you go out the doors, to the left are the males' restrooms and females are to the right. So this presentation tonight is online via WebEx. People will be able to view this tonight, not provide any comment at this time unless they send in an email, but it'll also be posted on our webpage for the ITA, and people have the opportunity to view this meeting and leave comments in written form. This presentation will also be provided to several committees and commission meetings over the next few weeks. I do want to remind everyone why we're here tonight. So back in 2024, Parks and Recreation conceptualized an expansion of sports tourism in the ITA. The business community asked about possible expansion opportunities for light industrial for Innovation Park, and the city was also looking for potential locations for municipal services. Staff did a very high-level layout to City Council to show them that these three could coexist if City Council wanted to pursue any of these land uses or all of them. At City Council's most recent retreat, direction was given to staff to formalize the concept, showing how all three could exist and show levels of investment needed as well as the benefits, meaning new tax revenue or new jobs to the city. The uses proposed are compatible with Navy restrictions, and we do have our Navy representative here tonight, John Lauterbach. I know you didn't want me to point you out, John. But we've gone through this presentation with them as well. This has been a collaborative effort with all of those departments that I've mentioned earlier. We've been trying to make sure that we hit all the right pieces and everyone gets what they need. But again, this is going to be City Council's decision on which way or how they would like to pursue any development in this area. So tonight, our main focus is getting your input. This is a draft concept. It is not set in stone. There's plenty of room for changing things, adding things, taking away, and that's what we want to hear from you tonight. We also are going to be asking that if you don't want to leave a comment tonight, please take time to take a comment card that's in the back or leave a comment online for us so that we can collect everything like we did with the comprehensive plan and start to work through those comments. The public comment period at this time, we're anticipating that it will close May 31st so that we can bring all of the feedback to City Council. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Clay.
Hi. Good evening. I'm Clay Dills with Dills Architects. And thanks for the introduction. I thought, Kathy, I was going to have to do the preamble. I would like to first point out that tonight we're here looking at a draft, right? So we're here for feedback. This isn't a I love it or I hate it moment. This is a I wish it was this way. We would love to hear from you, and the opportunity is directly after this to do that. We have this footage up here. It's just a compilation of drone footage showing the diverse character of what the ITA really is out there. Everything from agriculture, sports, industry, the amphitheater, Centera, all those things coexist out there now. And our job in this was to find a way to meld these things, find the right locations for them, get them in the right places, and find good reason to do that so we can guide city action with investment, but as well as maintaining community character, view sheds, and what we feel is appropriate.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
So we outlined two goals, the first of which is develop a strategic 10-year and 25-year master plan. So what you're looking at tonight is a long-range vision for this, and that's for each of these industries that we talked about tonight. And really the point of that is how do we provide economic but also cultural vibrancy for the ITA area and guide city investment to do that. The second goal is integrating land use, like I said earlier. How do we make it cohesive for sports, tourism, light industrial, natural recreation, which is a big part of out there, the agricultural areas, and the destinations that exist. Our study, we had economic advisors that came in and looked at light industrial, what the future of light industrial looks like, what it looks like in terms of absorption for the city of Virginia Beach. And then we did the same for sports tourism on that side to run rough return on investment on major elements there, what those look like long term. And then of course our study involved looking at prior master plans. So we are updating tonight the plan from 2017. You'll see a lot of similarities between those, but also looking at existing land use patterns, the regulatory overlays that we have from the Navy, those restrictions. There's a ton of utility easements out there, the ecological features, which are some primary mature woodlands that we're maintaining, and then integrating active transportation. So the ITA is full of great public destinations, as you know. The amphitheater, there's public institutions there. The Centeras of the world, these are large developments. There's sports facilities, the Y, the outdoor pool there, sports tourism at the Plex and Field House, the connection to commerce and industry that we now have present there on Hudom, and the sports for us, and this is the Princess Anne Athletic Complex, really add open space, and they help protect open space. And we think that's a big part of the character out there. So sports and open space, this is VB National, but also the nearby woods, the connective trails, and how those connect to the existing communities, and that character that we want to maintain. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up agriculture, which exists in the ITA, exists south of the ITA and to the west of the ITA, and is one of the top industries in Virginia Beach. So here's an overall view of our current concept master plan. Just to orient you, it's Princess Anne Road running diagonal there on the right, Dam Neck on the left. The ITA and vicinity study area that we're looking at is really the intersection of Dam Neck Road and Princess Anne on the north, down to North Landing. That's our primary focus. Below North Landing, we're still maintaining as protected open space. You map out land uses that are in this plan. The green would be sports industry. That's everything from the Hampton Road Soccer Complex through the Athletic Village, the Sportsplex, the Field House, PAC, new tournament fields we're adding. We're extending Hudom Way with industrial, as you see in pink, adding some use for municipal. You see a hatched area in there. That's an area that can be used municipal or industrial. And then below that, south and west of that, is really held as ecological agriculture areas, natural recreation, and some sports. So this is a master plan view looking south. This is roughly at that intersection, looking across PAC, looking across the field house. That's our sports tourism. That is a sports industry. And this study is really looking at that as an industry, like we'd look at any other industry. Natural recreation, agriculture to the south and to the west. And then the municipal piece, and industrial, that is an extension of those existing industrial facilities right off of Hudom Way. So to orient you, this is an extension of Lansdowne Road on the right, running through the view, and on the left, that's Princess Anne Road. And so we see the master plan area in two parts. There's really the north, which is roughly divided by the Southeastern Greenway, Southeastern Parkway easement that runs along the hard bend that turns on Lansdowne Road and roughly where Hudom would come to meet it. And then south of that is our other area. This is the northern area, and these are just some of the existing features and destinations that are there now. The amphitheater, YMCA, PAC, Sportsplex. You see BB National off on the right. Our job, we come to find out through the study here and from Victus Advisors, who's a national sports advisor, is really to lean into sports. The original vision of Athletic Village here tells us that if you lean into this, it becomes profitable, you generate revenue from it, it becomes more cohesive, and it becomes more of a destination for tourism. All those are things that we're after as a sports industry here. So what that really means to lean in is reliable and cohesive tournament and sports tourism offerings. Like, how do we run these tournaments year round, make them available year round? That means adding a baseball complex, you see on the right. That means turning the Sportsplex into a multi-use championship field, turfing the PAC fields, and then adding those recreation and tourism elements, concessions, bathrooms, and all of that drives a hotel for here that we'll show you in a second. So if you look at the left-hand side of that, you'll see on the far left, the regional and local BMX action sports. So that is a BMX facility, jumps, ramps, and we'll show you a version of that. And in the adjacent woods, we don't touch the woods. We actually run mountain bike trails that connect to that facility through that. So you'll see as a theme here, we're joining both natural outdoor recreation and sports tourism as a similar thing, bring them together in one industry. We're adding 2 fields to the existing PAC fields, extending parking for adding another 150 spaces, and then converting the PAC fields completely to turf so that they're reliable, you don't have rainouts, and we can run tournaments all the time. Sorry, let me back up. I missed disc golf. Disc golf around Parks and Rec, and then a hotel in the north. Now, sports tourism out here, if this takes hold, and the hotel we're showing there is outside of the ITA restricted area, really the tourism here, that industry related to sports drives that need. So it's not only this one, if this takes off and we lean in the way we're talking about, we'll end up with probably a need for another hotel behind that one. On the right-hand side or the east side of Lansdowne Road, you'll see the Sportsplex there. That is the conversion of that on 2 other sides with stadium seating to be able to run a multi-use championship stadium, which is 4 sports: baseball, football, soccer, and lacrosse out of one stadium. That is tied to an 11-field tournament complex, which runs all ages of baseball. North of that is adding pickleball courts, which is a recreational amenity, and then adding an additional 350 parking spots there. Here's a little zoomed in view on that. That's Lansdowne Road running through the view on your right-hand side. You see the 11 fields. You see PAC on the right. The baseball complex and the multi-use stadium are tied together with a network of trails, pathways. And then there's real precedent for this. This is Rock Hill, South Carolina, for the action sports, BMX and mountain bikes. In those woods behind this view, there are mountain bike trails. Those tied to the BMX facility that we're describing here. And then for the baseball fields, we looked around the nation for places that were co-locating light industrial or advanced manufacturing with sports complex, along with retail and all the other type of destinations that we have out there. There's a great one in Illinois, which off on the left, you see light industrial. These are new turf baseball fields that also double as rectangular fields. Lake Point, Georgia, soccer, baseball, athletics complex, including, if you see in the behind it all there, light industrial and retail. And then at High Point, North Carolina, there's a highly successful multi-use championship field. You see a baseball diamond on there, but a soccer field on top of that. Stadium on two sides. This is wildly popular there. And they host 4 times the events of a standalone sports stadium. For the 11-field tournament complex, we dug in on that, and Victor studied it in depth. This is actually the pro forma. I won't read that to you, but I'll give you the highlights for that. And this includes the multi-use championship stadium. So to develop it, it's $44.5 million. That, along with $12.5 million for the stadium. Combined, that generates over 100,000 annual hotel room nights for the city. 3.2 million in tax revenue, 1,340 sustained annual jobs. And then along with that, right now, included in the CIP with the city, there's an option to improve Lansdowne Road, which we think would be greatly beneficial to this area. It adds walkways and becomes pedestrian friendly. It's 3-lane with pedestrian refuge so that we can cross it. So we think there's a real opportunity in adding this and adding to the general cohesion of the athletic village. So here's a view zooming in to that. You see in the upper left, the stadium. Southeastern Greenway, instead of avoiding it, which I will say we had some sketches that avoided it to start, we've leaned into it as a connective thing through the city. So it runs through the tournament complex. That's bikes, pedestrian, multimodal use on a shared trail through there. And then we connect to the stadium from this tournament complex and from the other areas of PAC. And so south of our study area, south of Lansdowne Road's hard turn, really the job down there is how do we align land use, development land use, with what the features out there are telling us to do now by following current development patterns. And that's mainly starting with thinking around Hugh Dome Way and what that means to extend it and how far you should go. Land quality and suitability is a big deal out there. So stormwater is a big deal, which I'll get to in a moment. And then minimizing our investment in infrastructure. It's primarily roadway and utilities. So how do we build the least amount of road, keep development where it should be in the plan so that we maximize a return on investment, but that we also don't overburden the land that's out there now. So just a brief a bit about soils and stormwater. Stormwater is a big deal out there. The further south down the page and the further west left you go, the more the stormwater requirements increase. So if you can imagine at the top of the arrow there, roughly 25, it could be 30% of the land to develop. If I have a parcel and I want to develop something there, will be gone and given to a pond. As I move south and west, it can be as much as 40%. What that tells us is that at some point in there, it becomes not really feasible to build, and it actually probably should be protected. And so that has informed our approach. That also overlays well with Hugh Dome Way. Hugh Dome Way starts there, and it unlocks some opportunity to do more industrial there, but there and not everywhere. So on the west side, you'll see the roadway in the green box there, Lansdowne Road, that if we extended Lansdowne Road straight, that would eventually go down Ty and head towards Nimmo and extended Nimmo or North Landing. On the left side, we form a large stormwater park. So that's a public amenity lake that also serves as stormwater to maintain development in the north and the east. So that keeps development in the north and the east. It keeps the ecological features, the character of our country, areas of the rural areas down in the south and the west. On that side, because cross-country sports can't cross hardscape, can't cross walkways, can't cross roadways, we put that on that side with that lake, with the farmland there that cross-country came from, and with the existing woods over there. So if you can imagine, we have a small parking lot, we have a pavilion for changing, bathrooms, and then this becomes a place to access the water, right? It's a stormwater park, a public amenity, but it's also a place we can host major national events for cross-country, for sure regional events at the NCAA level. And then the brown lines on there are a network of trails that we can interweave into these, like you saw in the beginning, to connect really through here to the communities that surround this place. And you see the agriculture in the south that stays unchanged. So this is a view from the south across that stormwater park. You see the baseball complex off in the upper right. That's packed across the street from it. Princess Anne Athletic Complex. You see the cross-country trails. These are trails that move around this lake feature, through the woods. They run through the farmland and back again. These are some of the premier cross-country courses in the country. Stormwater Park. And then you see the industrial in the north and the east, some municipal services buildings, future ones if needed. And then that's Lansdowne Road extended to the south. And really it's about directing land use for sports, for industry and natural recreation, keeping them where they need to be. Here's a great example, Georgia Premier Cross Country. So it links agriculture, natural areas, and sports. Very much, I didn't edit those power lines in there, but it feels like the ITA. And then they run through the woods and they run around a stormwater lake, just like we're proposing. So another part of sports tourism here, we think we can host at least 12 annual events. That's 9,000 visitors, 7,800 annual room nights. That's 30 sustained jobs, and we'll probably push 100,000 in annual taxes just from that. Really on this is the hotel nights that are generated out of this. Some of the cross-country events can have 1,000 participants. It's another view of the stormwater park, cross-country and trails. You see how they interweave that agriculture below around the stormwater park, how that takes the stormwater, that becomes the protected ecological end of things. Sorry. And that's Lansdowne Road extended to the south along that with municipal behind it and light industrial in the north and the east near BB National. So on the other side of that, you see on the top of the page, Hudom Way extended. So right now it's at the very top of the page where AGI is, architectural graphics. We extend that, but we leave the wooded buffer would be around those tournament fields. There's an oak grove there that's much loved. We keep those wooded buffers in place, just like the ones around BB National stay in place. And we pull that out to an extension of Lansdowne Road. That provides opportunity for light industrial in the north and the east, where it's a little more suitable to do those uses. It allows for maintaining the wooded buffer between that and future municipal services buildings. And then you still see that stormwater park, the trails, the natural features below that. Here's a view into that from BB National, actually looking southwest. So you see the stormwater park in the distance, the future municipal services buildings there, and Hudom Way extended. And then industrial and advanced manufacturing has a home in the northeast portion of the ITA near the development center. S.B. Friedman is a national economist that's worked with us on this, very well versed in industrial types and how much a city can absorb of those types, what the projections of those look like. So there's really two types. One is industrial or light industrial, which is small scale manufacturing, light manufacturing, not heavy duty work, but buildings to do that work. They tell us that in the next 10 years, the shift will be happening, and they think especially in cities like Virginia Beach or in Hampton Roads, to a more flex, or what they call a flex, which is really a versatile building that can do research and development, technology, some manufacturing, but it's primarily in the research and development world, and a little bit of distribution. These buildings are primarily tied to federal defense contracting, research areas, much like I think was the original vision for Innovation Park. We met with the Hampton Roads Alliance. If you're not familiar with them, they do the Hampton Roads Playbook. They've come out with a whole study that they've spent years on for this. They completely agree with that transition from light industrial into this flex kind of smaller form future industry and how that will change, especially around federal contracting and the type that we have in Virginia Beach, which is tied to the military and special operations that exist in the military. Those buildings, and these are some in Sun Valley, Texas, and St. Louis, Missouri, called flex or small form or advanced manufacturing. They scale down inside. They become much more like tech buildings than they do like large production manufacturing buildings. They also end up having much higher average salaries. So those average salaries across those small form advanced manufacturing are some that would likely stay in the city of Virginia Beach. Those dollars would stay here. And then they studied our, not only our study area, but like how much industrial absorption the city will take over the next 10 years and the next 25. So citywide, this is citywide, they think in the next 10 years, industrial will require a new 90 acres or 1 million square feet. This is across the entire city. In 25, it would be 275 or 3 million square feet. For our area in the ITA, in 10 years, they're saying 54 acres or around roughly 660,000 square feet. In 25 years, 175 acres or 1.9 million square feet. So we looked at phasing, and a simplified version of that is what's the most efficient way to build roadway that opens up development, where we want the development to go, right? So you see Phase one is red, a small extension of Lansdowne and extension of Hudom that comes to meet it. Phase two is a connector road down in the north and the east from Hudom along the edge of BB National, along those woods that exist there. And then phase three is extending Lansdowne Road further. And that's really about connecting north to south through there, and not having an opportunity for the city, if needed, in phase three for future municipal buildings. And then phase four is really connecting the dots if we need these to all be connected at some point. Each of those phases comes with some industrial development or municipal development and the opportunity to do that in those locations. So total industrial acreage dedicated here is 368. Now that includes stormwater, that large stormwater pond, which is almost 80 acres, roadway, all-in number for acreage. Industrial phase one, 85 acres you see shaded in red there. That's a maximum of 1.1 million square feet. That could be seen from that. Phase two in yellow, 135 acres and a maximum of 1.8 million square feet. Phase one would break down this way as an economic analysis. Again, it's 85 acres. We're showing in plan, those footprints add up to 820,000 square feet. That's over their projection. Mind you, so this is like a maximum. To develop the roadway, it's 8.8 million, stormwater at 7.9 million. This develops 980 direct jobs, 168 indirect jobs, and 1.2 million in direct tax revenue annually. Phase two, similarly, 135 acres. We're showing 1.4 million square feet. That it costs 8.1 million to develop the roadway, 14.6 for the stormwater, because the acreage really jumps. 1,500 direct jobs, 257 indirect, and roughly 2 million in direct tax revenue annually. And then finally, the future municipal services facilities. This is a land bank for any future buildings for the city. It's roughly 58 acres, and we're showing footprints around 600,000 square feet as placeholders on those. The roadway at 8.4 million, stormwater at 6.8 to handle that. So again, here's a view across that full development in those footprints that we have. See the stormwater park, agriculture, cross country, all of that in the south and the west. You see in the front where Hudom gets extended. The municipal land set aside for city facilities in the future, and then advanced manufacturing. And we did a little bit to show types of buildings here, how they scale, what they look like when they're in that new category of flex industrial or research and development. So that's hybrid industrial and tech, light industrial, advanced manufacturing. All starting along Hudom, and then you see that middle roadway, which really is that connector that would run to the south. So I have a video just to fly around we could look at here. I don't screw it up. Yeah. So you see the added tournament fields there, Sportsplex. We're going by architectural graphics, BB National, looking back towards those light industrial advanced manufacturing buildings. That's that connector road, municipal buildings. You see the agriculture, rural areas still held to the south, the large stormwater park and the trails cross country around that. This is PAC. It's the Princess Anne Athletic Complex. re-turfing those fields and the soccer rectangular fields. And then linking all those together. This is a little lower to the ground, so hang on to your seats. Right, that's the Southeastern Greenway through there. This is across those new tournament fields, looking back towards Centera, Hudome Way. You see the stadium in the background there. Wrapping stadium seating on 2 more sides so that we can do 4 sports out of the sportsplex. And this is the extension of Hudome Way. So this is advanced manufacturing. See, the buildings are a little more tech-like. This is a little more advanced manufacturing, that flex or small form building. A lot of the study we did was to protect the woodlands, the mature stands of trees that are out there. How do we integrate with this? How do we keep how do we keep view sheds with those woods? How do we keep those in place so we don't affect the character? So that when we get to the stormwater, behind this is all wetlands and woods, a lot of ecological features that we can take advantage of as a public amenity, as a sports feature for sports tourism. You see the sports trails there for cross country. Those are the municipal buildings right across the street. And then we keep the south country. One more time. All right.
May I ask, are the trees that we're seeing in this video, they would be planted, they are already there?
So
Imagination?
a lot of those are there now. Actually, let me pause for a second and point it out.
Thinking of Hudome Way.
So like this, there's a large stand of trees that runs here. All of these are existing, right? The only impact we put to it is to run a street through it. The buffers around all of these, around VB National, the ones to the south of that, and definitely all of the ones to the south and to the west, we're not touching those. We're trying to keep as many mature trees in place as possible, and then plant as many as possible along with development. The Innovation Park design guides does a really good job of describing how that has to happen.
They just don't stick with it. You know,
Say again?
Acoustical sheet metal took down so many trees and has huge parking. And I'm curious, with these manufacturing companies, are you depicting enough parking space?
We think we are, and most of the parking is being shown in the rear of buildings, and meeting the tree requirements for those.
Thank you.
Now, we are showing trees that are mature, right? Thank you. We have a few next steps to go over. This is why I have help.
Excuse me. Can you show that slide which has the those projections, like phase 1, phase 2? You had like for industrial use, like at 85 acres of the cost estimates. And you,
These?
yeah. No, the next one, I think, where it actually had the revenue projections.
Hmm.
Yeah. Question on that. I'm kind of surprised that you're saying that 85 acres of land, you expect $1.2 million of tax revenue. Because right now, in the existing industrial park here, we have, what they have 96 acres of developable, of land which is developed. And, we are getting only tax revenues of 291,000. So if we are getting only 291,000 tax revenue from the existing industries, and the land value, is of similar, 96 acres, 85 acres. So if you're getting only 291,000 from the existing industries, how do you expect $1.2 million tax revenue for this phase? I'm confused. How is that possible?
I don't know about the other structure of that one
Yeah, right
or
now-
what's happening in that, but I do know that this analysis is based on just direct taxes from a business primarily around real estate, right? And this is direct tax, so it's not indirect.
Exactly. What we have is not a projection, it is what we have right now. The tax revenue which we are getting from the existing businesses is 291,000 in real estate taxes.
Okay,
So, and they spent $22.4 million for Go Down Way for the existing land, and they're getting 491,000. So that's like 1.3% rate of return. So I'm just confused on how we can get tax revenue of 1.2 million on a similar piece of
so
land.
these are straight out of the tax code. So, and we can, when we get to a table, I'm happy to like dig in on this with you.
I know what the reality is, right? It's not a projection, it's talking what we
Yeah.
have right now.
Well, and Clay, if I can, so we also have the two studies, the one from Victus, that took a look at the sports tourism and all of the numbers, and then the SP Freeman, which we can provide a copy or they'll be posted online too, so you can dig into the numbers.
But just talk about what we have right now.
I understand, but we have the studies for you that you can look at.
And these are,
Future
Projections
projections and how we gather.
kind of height and projections before, and they turn out like that. It's actually hard to believe.
Yes, I mean, I know what the reality is. I'm talking about the projections versus reality. I'm just trying to compare.
Right.
Because it has to be anchored to reality. Right now, we have spent what? On Go Down Way, we spent 22.4 million. We have only two businesses, and the tax revenue is 291,000.
Right.
That's the truth.
No, I understand what your point is. I'm
Exactly.
just saying.
So that's 60, and that's 96 acres, and this is 85 acres. So similar land size. So you're talking about a 6 times increase in estimated tax revenue. How is it possible?
Yeah, I understand, and that's why I think we should go ahead and pull the numbers and go through the details of it. Happy to.
do we want to take questions from the crowd or do you want to do it at the table?
Probably want to do it at the table so we can get people talking at the different.
What we want to do is document this. And that's really what the tables are for. It's not because we don't want to hear from you. It's because we want to write it down and be able to provide you with the information that we're using for this content.
We want everybody to get the opportunity
Yeah.
to make comments.
Yep. So this is a brief outline of the next briefings and stakeholder meetings that are coming up. April 29 is where we are. May 7th, we're meeting with Parks and Rec Commission, Open Space Advisory, and Active Transportation, 3 p.m. May 7th, the TA, ITA Citizens Advisory Committee, and the Agricultural Advisory at 5:30, May 7th. May 12th, the Virginia Beach Development Authority at 8:30 a.m. And May 13th with Planning Commission, we're briefing them at 9 a.m.
And council member, we got your note about adding rack and green ribbons, so we're doing that as well.
Excuse me, I do have a question, not about the presentation, but about your company.
Sure.
You did not say anything about what you do and what you've done in the past related to what you're presenting today
Sure.
and your experience, your company's experience in making these kind of plans. And it does
Sure.
say architect, so to me, architect means you design buildings. So this is a huge land use plan we're talking about.
Yep.
For 25, 30 years. So
Mhm.
I'm just curious what experience you have.
Sure. Says Dills Architects, but we do planning, urban design, feasibility studies, master plans, small area plans. We do interiors, and a pretty broad range of design. Our two primary focuses are in architecture, urban planning, master planning, and design. And that means that we work with specialists like SB Friedman. Sometimes we bring in national experts or Victus on the sports side. Or we work in with very specialized planning firms or environmental firms that will bring in as technical experts on those. But our role is primarily in the planning, the urban design. We couple that with buildings and square footages and floor area ratios, all that type of stuff. So we like to think that we can do the building, do the planning, put those things together, because if you don't do both of those, you can't be realistic about these type of efforts. So the content you're seeing, those are real footprints that could actually work. They're real parking, real roadways, because we have people planning those, if that helps.
Are there examples of what you've done in this city or somewhere?
Sure, the most recent one is the Central Beach Small Area Plan that we did for the oceanfront. That's the whole area around the convention center, from Atlantic Park back to Bird Neck Road. We're also working on the comprehensive plan for the entire city of Virginia Beach right now.
The ITA was originally developed more or less as a way to prevent light pollution so that the Navy can practice carrier landings at Fentress. Have you actually done a study of the light pollution effects of this construction and its impact on whether or not the Navy can practice night carrier landings at Fentress?
We have not done a light study, no. We've done compatibility use studies with the restrictions that are in the overlay for the ITA. That's why we have someone with the Navy here tonight who's been briefed on all this. Yes, ma'am.
You guys are collecting information here tonight,
Yes.
and then you will also be able to collect information on the 7th from several city advisory boards.
Mhm.
Will the information collected here tonight be brought to those meetings so that information can be shared? And then those meetings, feedback then be brought to the BBDA and also to Planning Commission in sort of an upward sweep?
We're gonna compile it all together.
So I was about to say, so we're going to compile it all together so that there's a database, there's a information bank of all those comments. I don't think in the meetings I can go through all of those comments in a forum like this. We'd be there for hours. But it will be all in one place and available to them. I mean, that's really the second part of this is like, let's get it on paper so that we can document it.
It just says that it's a Planning Commission briefing, and so it
Yep.
seems like maybe that was a more formal process to let them know what's going on, and I would hope that all of that feedback would be included in that briefing.
Yeah,
So,
we normally do like takeaways, right? So here's what we heard, and these are like a top 10 takeaways that we heard from prior meetings. We bring that kind of information forward. It won't be comment by comment though, because it's time prohibitive. Yes, sir.
The building you see on Houdon Way and Princess Anne Road, when I saw the orange signs, the city signs saying what was proposed, it said bulk storage lot, which told me it was gonna be an open lot, so forth. Well, we now know what's going up. Huge. I like what I see. You say the flex buildings, it looks like max 4 stories.
Mhm.
And probably no higher than the tree growth when they're mature. That's good, because that would keep it out of visibility from Princess Anne Road.
Mhm.
How can you guarantee that that's what's gonna be built?
I can't guarantee.
Now,
But I can say that the market is changing. And that is where that's coming from. And, you know, as I said to you, we're architects, and I can tell you, we are already seeing that market change, right? We do buildings too. So like we have what I would call a flex building that we just completed in Chesapeake that is very much of this venue. And it is directly tied to the military and federal contracting. So it is something that's happening not 10 years from now, it's happening right now.
I guess my question really is better to present to the city council versus you all. You put forward the project design. So they'd have to put the restrictions on what can be built in that area.
They would.
With this new flex space, is that more of a business type that would exist in business zoning versus light industrial zoning?
I think they may need the light industrial component, right? These are hybrid type buildings. I think they may desire that, or some of them may desire that. You know, that study, you saw that the absorption, not all the absorption goes to the ITA. So there's some decisions by business owners there, but I don't think it, I think most of them need that component because of the nature of the work that is being done in there. Like, there's going to be office space, they're going to do some research and development, they're going to test that research and development, right, in physical form, and that may require it.
So in that same vein, surely we make an assumption that there are businesses out there that want this, because we're not gonna build something that there's not a market for.
Yep.
And I think it would be interesting for us to know as the public, what businesses are interested in coming here. We've been in this situation before in Virginia Beach where we spent a lot of money building out an industrial park. I'm thinking about Corporate Landing, where we had an assumption that things were gonna come in. We've used some tactics to reserve land for people, and it's still very open there. A lot has happened very recently in Corporate Landing, but I think a lot of the public might be concerned that we'll put all of this money into building the infrastructure for this space, and then the businesses actually aren't gonna show up. And so it'd be interesting to know, like, is already courting us for a space to go into. I'm sure that conversation will come up at BBDA, but that would be interesting for the public to know, to give some sort of comfort that we're not just building this for somebody that have said something at some point, and
Well,
then now it's kind of an obsolete thing.
totally get it. While we're projecting what we think the near-term industrial uses will look like in there, we're not privy to all of the people courting. I think, you know, we're not doing that, but we're looking at our region and we're looking locally about what we can absorb and what that looks like between now and the next 10 years. That's really where this is coming from. Yes.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but I didn't see the law enforcement training academy. I think that was something that was planned for the 5 days previously.
Yep.
Is that no longer part of the plan?
Those buildings, future municipal services buildings, one of those could be that facility. And one of those footprints fits that. Yes.
Yeah, looking at your charts there, looks like you had Pudong Way, and on the east side, you had all the industrial park or the industrial uses. And on the western side, you had the sports facilities. So I was thinking about, if you have all that, and how much traffic can Pudong Way take? And if you have all these industrial trucks going there, and then you have kids playing soccer, and they're going to run on the roads, when is it safe? How much road traffic can Pudong Way take with industry on all those industries on the right-hand side and all the sports?
And I can show you in depth at the table, but those things are really buffered from each other. So it's very much, actually the primary problem roadway out there is Lansdowne Road as a barrier between the two sides of the athletic village out there, which is why there's a CIP project for that now.
So the people in the sports complex are not going to use Pudong Way then? People going to sports complex and
They were not.
they will not use it?
No, it doesn't need to connect.
So what we'd like to do now is, one, I wanted to point out the QR code to you because that QR code takes you to the landing webpage that will have all of the information. This video will be posted there. You'll have copies of the economic impact analysis as well as the presentation you saw tonight, and we'll continue to update that as we go. But what we'd like to do now is there are 6 stations. If you would like to provide some comment or ask any questions, we will have staff there. If not, we encourage you to get one of the comment cards in the back. And if you fill that out, or if you go to this QR code, there's an email address that you can send a comment in. So we wanted to thank you for coming tonight, but encourage you to stay and talk about those.
Will the slide set be accessible on your website
Yes,
as of tonight or?
not tonight.
We'll get it up tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And under planning part.
Right, so the QR code that's on everything, it'll be right there.
So,